Hello, my name is Annie Arvidsson. These are pictures of me here. I'm currently a junior at Baylor University, and I'm from Minnesota, a proud neuroscience major, and I even have aspirations to become a physician. I have created this video to both fulfill a project requirement for my Cognition class and share my story to help my friends, my family, and others going through similar circumstances understand what it's like to have a chronic illness. I miss dates, meetings, dinners, and countless other experiences as a result of occipital neuralgia. This video tells just a little bit of my story. As a junior in high school, I developed viral meningitis. As a result, I got a migraine that just never went away. If you're curious, meningitis is the inflammation of the lining of the brain and spinal cord, the meninges. As a result of occipital neuralgia, I now have nerve pain that wraps around my neck, down my shoulders, and around my face. My left eye droops when my headache gets bad, and people close to me can literally see my migraine on my face, like in this photo. At one point, I had so many migraines that it was easier to track when I didn't have one than when I did. When my problem started, I had a migraine for months without a break, and now it's rare for me to go a week without one, and I always have a headache. I have dealt with a lot of different treatments. I was placed on a ton of medications, including steroids, anti-seizure medications, nerve block injections, new experimental treatments, and even Botox. All of these medications, especially when combined, created their own headaches, compounding my pain and sending me to the hospital. It took a really long time for me to get my diagnosis. One doctor even told me that my only problem was that I spent too much time on the computer. That was not helpful. After a few trial treatments and many appointments, I was finally diagnosed with occipital neuralgia. Occipital neuralgia is a condition where the occipital nerves are injured or inflamed, causing headaches. This can be caused by trauma or pinched nerves. There's so many things that can cause it, but it is kind of rare. For me, occipital neuralgia feels like when you wear socks and rub your feet on the carpet, then touch a doorknob. That shock radiates from the back of my skull, down my neck, over the tops of my shoulders, up behind my ears, and around my face. It gets to be that wearing sunglasses is painful. Oftentimes, my nose feels like it's breaking, and I feel like I have a sinus infection. I also have a lot of pain behind my eyes. I see spots as part of my migraines, and I get weakness in my arms and legs, as well as my fingers, which makes things like taking notes really difficult. I also smell things like gasoline or cigarette smoke right before a migraine starts. Sometimes it hurts to be touched at all. The clothes I wear when I have a migraine have to be soft, and things as simple as lying on the floor can be intolerable as the floor touching my scalp is excruciating. Sometimes I can't sleep it off because the pressure of lying on a pillow is too painful. The most frustrating thing, however, wasn't the pain, but was actually a lack of a cure to my unrelenting pain. My doctor even told me that he didn't know how to fix my problem, and that eventually I would just get used to it. That was very stressful. This frustration with the unknown is actually what drives me to love neuroscience. The actual physiology of occipital neuralgia is really confusing, and not as lot is known about it, so I'd like to help patients who don't really know what's going on get better at it. As occipital neuralgia is nerve pain, I'd like to kind of explain what neurons are. A neuron is the fundamental unit of the nervous system. It receives, transmits, and processes sensory input. Here's a diagram. Neurons gather all this information, turn it into electrical code, and then sends it down axons to new neurons as an action potential. When a sensory neuron receives enough stimuli, the action potential is passed down from the axon hillock to the synapse of the neuron, where a neurotransmitter is released into a synaptic cleft, a teeny little space between each neuron. At the opposite end of the synaptic cleft, a second neuron. Neurotransmitters bind to the second neuron's dendrites and start the process all over again, sending this information down from the new neuron to a third neuron, and so on. There are neurons that are designed to respond specifically to pain called nociceptors. They send information into your spine, and then once it goes from your spine into your brain, the thalamus and the cortex interprets it. After I got my diagnosis, I got some new treatments. This started with anti-inflammatory medications, prednisone injections, and nerve blocks. These were nightmarish. I've never been a huge fan of needles, but getting those nerve blocks taught me that I have vasovagal syncope, a condition where your blood pressure drops when you're stressed so far that you lose consciousness. They stuck the needle straight into the most sensitive, painful part of my neck where my nerve pain is the worst, aggravating nerves that are already angry. This was repeated every few months for about a year. My face would flush, and I gained a lot of weight from these injections. I was not a fan.